It began as a whisper. What began as a whisper became a storm. The strong one had always been Yandy. The world saw her as graceful, self-assured, and unflappable. But beneath that flawless smile, she was a woman who was tearing apart our marriage piece by piece because she didn't want to end it. She was tired of acting as though nothing was wrong when it was obvious that Yandy and Andy had taken the brunt of the burden. But she knew deep down that things couldn't continue this way after everything they had gone through. Of the partnership for years, in the hopes that love would be sufficient to mend what had been gradually disintegrating, she persisted in trying. However, this was the first time she had acknowledged to herself that she needed assistance. "I love men's attention," she stated quietly during one of her treatment sessions, revealing impulses she had long suppressed. Her therapist was even taken aback. "But I don't know if I can love him the way he wants me to." Her tone faltered. She'd spent so much being everything to everyone for a long period. Mendeecees, however, wasn't prepared to deal with any of it and declined to attend counseling. She had lost the ability to be honest with herself. He saw it as a temporary setback that would pass in time, and he didn't believe anything was wrong. A family member claimed that he had assumed that things would resolve themselves, but it was already too late when he learned how deeply devastated Yandy was. He was a man whose heart had already begun to drift, a man of action. He was able to fix things with his hands rather than his words, but he was unable to fix what was broken this time. The anguish had become too intense. Their once vibrant and boisterous love had turned to silence. They were surviving without speaking, and people were starting to notice. Soon after, the rumors began to circulate. When the media learned about their issues, they made headlines. Mendeecees and Yandy's marriage is in trouble. One publication yelled, "Betrayal, distance, and silence," while another exclaimed, "Everyone had something." They say that admirers, celebrities, and even total strangers commented. It's so sad to see them like this. But the ones who knew them best, family and close friends, had already seen the cracks before the world did. One fan tweeted, "Their marriage, which was once viewed as ideal, was now being torn apart by public opinion. We thought they were relationship goals. They don't even recognize each other anymore." Yandy's sister, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly stated, "It's sadly, I don't believe there is anything left to salvage." Men as well as DC's mentor, Kirk Frost, noticed the shift. "I've never seen him like this," he said to a friend. "He seems to be losing the one thing that matters to him." Even Kirk, who had always believed in their love, acknowledged that love alone isn't always sufficient, and things only became worse after that. Yes, there were arguments and conflicts over money. Kids, arguments about their enterprises. Every aspect of their existence together turned into a battleground. Yandy maintained appearances, but now they are fighting over remnants of what once was a wonderful existence, even if they both want to win, according to a legal insider. She grinned at public gatherings. She kept up her charitable efforts, but her face was a constant reminder of her failing marriage. She was breaking boundaries behind closed doors. Mendeecees, on the other hand, retreated from the limelight and immersed himself in his profession. Yet even in his most fruitful periods, his eyes were filled with anguish. "He's not the same. He's lost something, possibly himself," a buddy added. As their quiet deepened, more startling facts began to emerge. Whispers eventually developed into discussions, which quickly made headlines. Fans who had once rejoiced in their love were now holding their breath as they watched a pair they had admired at one point collapse slowly and painfully. But nobody could have predicted what happened next. It began with Yen's close friend, who had remained silent during all the turmoil. She revealed information that shocked everyone one day when the hush ended. Yandy claimed to have recently unearthed previously unreported facts on Mendeecees' actions. It was as if she saw a completely different guy after learning facts that disproved all she had ever thought about him. The friend claimed that Yandy had always believed in giving second chances, even if she didn't recognize the person. Though she had previously forgiven missteps, what she discovered this time was too devastating. The secrets Mendeecees had withheld from her were hurtful and personal, not simply financial or business-related. There was no turning back once those secrets were revealed, and fans' speculation spread like wildfire. These weren't simply mistakes, they were deep betrayals. Some assumed it was something dark, while others thought the secrets were about his previous relationships. Nobody was certain, but the harm had already been done. Yandy, once calm, was now clearly shaken. Although she still had strength, it had changed. She was struggling not only to keep her marriage intact, but also to shield herself from more suffering. A family insider claimed that Mendeecees was also breaking and was attempting to keep it together. He had genuinely loved Yandy, but the weight of everything was too great, and he was beginning to doubt all of his decisions, deeds, and even himself. As the media tore apart his private life and supporters abandoned him, he felt vulnerable and exposed, even though he had always taken pride in being strong and the one who kept his family together. What had once been a tall guy was now buried in regret. Then came the most inflammatory rumor of all, the affair. It had been rumored for months, and those close to the marriage had even privately informed Yandy about it. However, an unnamed source now claimed to have proof. It didn't happen once. Yandy didn't learn of the full-fledged affair until much later, according to the source. Everything changed at that very instant. How could he do this to me? Yandy allegedly begged friends. How could he do this to our family? She had trusted Mendeecees with her heart, her life, and her children, but now she was facing a betrayal that caused her to doubt every memory they had together. Yandy's previously unknown side was revealed to the public. The woman who was hurting, the one who felt disrespected and deceived, and who wasn't sure if she had anything left to give, wasn't the entrepreneur or the reality star. But Mendeecees wasn't the villain in his imagination. He made mistakes, yes, according to his closest confidant, but he was attempting to become a better man. He never meant to hurt Yandy. He assumed he had more time and that she would be there forever. He found himself gathering the fragments of a life that had lost its familiarity. The harm was done. His marriage was falling apart, and his reputation was damaged. One night, everything came to a head when Yandy confronted him at their house. According to people close to the couple, it was heartbreaking and emotionally raw. He was urged to tell the truth by Yandy, screaming, "Tell me everything. No more lies." She longed to hear her voice, even when it broke. Every single detail, all betrayals kept hidden. The stillness that had previously pervaded their family abruptly became even worse when Mendeecees, despite their grief, eventually confessed to the affair. Finality. The word got around like wildfire. Reactions filled social media within hours. Some fans were devastated, while others were incensed. "I find it unbelievable that he did that to her." According to one tweet, they were meant to be forever. More than just reality stars, Yandy and Mendeecees were now seen as a representation of power and dedication to many. However, the gaps were now unavoidable, and the storm within their families was equally fierce. After being silent for a long time, Yandy's mother and sister eventually spoke up. Seeing her in this state, was unbearable to them. "You need to keep your peace now that you've done everything you could," her sister said. Her mother, who had always encouraged their union, now asked whether it had been worthwhile to stay. "This is not the life you deserve," she muttered. One tearful evening also rocked Mendeecees' side of the family. "This isn't the son I raised," claimed his mother, who had supported him through his toughest moments, saying she couldn't believe what was happening. Even his longtime mentor and friend Kirk Frost said Mendeecees struggled to find the proper words. "I've never seen him like this," he said to a close friend. "He's broken. He's not even trying to fight anymore." Nevertheless, both Yandy and Mendeecees made an effort to maintain public appearances. Yandy attended events, grinned for the cameras, and carried on with her charitable activities, but her loved ones could see it. She felt worn out. She was dealing with the stress of maintaining a false front, a shattered marriage, and a public betrayal. Mendeecees, however, stepped away from the limelight. He immersed himself in his work in an attempt to conceal the suffering, but even in his private moments, friends claimed he seldom talked. He spoke in brief, regretful words. "He's lost," as if he were looking for something that had already vanished. As the divorce negotiations became more intense, other issues surfaced. It was no longer just about the affair. It was about money, the children, and trust that had been irreparably damaged. To the surprise of many, Mendeecees requested full custody of their kids. Yandy, who had always been an involved mother, wouldn't allow that to happen without a battle. On top of that, their collaborative business efforts turned into a new battleground. Her share was what she wanted. He thought he was worthy of more. Attorneys were called, and documents were submitted. The courtroom turmoil and legal paperwork now obscured their former affection. They are fighting over fragments of a life that no longer exists, but they both want to win, according to a legal insider. It was similar to seeing a ship sink piece by piece, because they couldn't agree on how to stop it. Those in their immediate vicinity observed in silence. Heartbroken, they knew there was nothing left to salvage. Yet some people clung to hope, hoping they might somehow find their way back. One wrote, "They've experienced worse." Even the most devoted followers sensed the change in the back of their minds, though perhaps this is just another test. This was something unusual, not just a difficult time. As the latter phases of the divorce progressed, things became worse. When everyone thought the drama was at its height, shocking new information surfaced. Even the couple's closest acquaintances, Yandy's close friend, who had been silent the entire time, eventually spoke up. Her sharing was devastating. Things Yandy had learned about Mendeecees were unexpected. Several lies, not just one. It was more than simply the affair. Deeply ingrained secrets caused her to doubt every aspect of their connection. It was as though she were staring at a complete stranger. The friend claimed that Yandy was devastated, and that she didn't even recognize the man she married. Because of this love, she had battled for many years. She supported Mendeecees, stood by him through his worst moments, and helped him build a life. Now, however, it seemed as though that life was based on deception. She sobbed in front of her closest pals one day. The words, "How could he do this to me? How could he do this to our family?" were spoken through tears. Her suffering was unmistakable and genuine. Mendeecees was in a downward spiral at the time, and others around him claimed he ate very little, dozed off rarely. He didn't intend for it to end this way, and he was plagued with remorse. One of his closest confidants claimed that he genuinely loved her, but now he's lost everything. His mistakes were too heavy, and the shame and criticism from others were too overwhelming. He appeared hollow despite his accomplishment, He's changed. He may have lost himself, but he's lost something, a pal posted. When Yandy addressed him directly, it was the last straw. Her demand was so urgent that it was emotional. The truth, every nuance, and secret aspect of the narrative. No more lies, she demanded of him. Mendeecees eventually confessed to the affair while crying, and something broke between them. It was the end of a journey they had previously agreed to take together, as well as a marriage. Word of the altercation spread quickly, leaving fans in shock. One person tweeted, "Yeah, this can't be real," saying they were supposed to beat the odds. But now all hope for reconciliation was gone. Even the mother of Mendeecees, who had consistently supported him, said the truth broke their relationship. She was shocked that her son had progressed thus far. One of the relatives said that being said, Yandy's mother and sister pleaded with her to leave permanently. She said, "You gave it your all. Now is the time to show yourself love." Fans were devastated by the media's coverage of every development. Some felt deceived and enraged. One admirer said, "He hurt her, and that's not okay," while another said, "She deserves better." Still, some continued to hope for a happy ending. After the divorce was finalized and their formerly flawless image was ruined, Yandy and Mendeecees were left to deal with the fallout. They had ended their journey with a path of suffering, regret, and what-ifs, rather than a fresh start. Ultimately, neither the cameras nor the headlines brought their narrative to a close. What ultimately caused them to fall apart were the silent times, the secrets, the falsehoods, and the emotional separation. Prior to this, they were relationship goals, but now they were a cautionary tale. As the dust settled, the world watched in quiet as yet another warning that even the most resilient love may crumble when trust is betrayed. Two hearts that were once full of love are now learning how to mend independently. There will be no more drama or noise.